believe this. Internal documents subpoenaed by the House Judiciary Committee and Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government indicate that Amazon allegedly bowed to pressure from the Biden administration to censor books. Emails show former White House senior advisor for COVID-19 response, Andrew Slavitt, asking who they can talk to about the, quote, high levels of propaganda and misinformation and disinformation of Amazon. Now, according to the emails, the White House ran keyword searches for books on Amazon under vaccines and emailed Amazon saying they were concerned when they did not see any CDC warnings.
Emails ahead of a 2021 meeting with the White House reveal Amazon's top talking points going into the discussion. Under the section of books curation and guidelines 101, there's a question that reads, is the administration asking us to remove books, or are they more concerned about search results / order, or both? On March 9th, 2021, the same day as its meeting with the White House, Amazon enabled do not promote for books that express the view that COVID vaccines were not effective.
So this is very similar to things we've talked about with respect to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram over and over again. I wrote a whole big magazine story about the CDC pressure on Facebook in particular. Obviously, Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger and others have done great work on the pressure on Twitter. So this is more of the same. In some ways, it's a little worse. They specifically, this wasn't just on, on Twitter, it's things were popping up on the feed that made federal government employees, political employees unhappy, and then they pressured those companies to take it down. We saw it over and over again. A lot of people in those companies now regret it. It seems like it was a huge mistake on COVID subjects, on election subjects, sometimes jokes being flagged by FBI agents, like they have nothing better to do than take down your content. But at least this is kind of this going viral that's appearing in the news feeds on the platforms. Here, I guess, Andy Slavitt, this very senior White House COVID official, has time to be sitting around searching on Amazon for books with using keyword terms, seeing what's coming up, and then annoyed that there's not some CDC warning label slapped over, I presume, like RFK Jr.'s book or something like that. And then complaining to Amazon about it, that they should change those policies, and that quote you just read. So this is the Amazon people talking about it. And what they're saying to each other is, so do we think the White House wants us to ban those books or just limit those books? How can we make them happy here? It shows the tremendous pressure that again, not just the social media platforms that we know faced, but even Amazon, a book purveyor.
Yeah, that's pretty outrageous. As someone who, I gotta say, I ordered the real Anthony Fauci. When all these conversations were happening, I felt like it was incumbent on me to understand what the hubbub was. And I ordered Turtles All the Way Down. I ordered a bunch of these books that I know were kind of core to the arguments that vaccine skeptics were making, because I feel like as part of my job, it's important to understand where people are coming from. And the idea that as a journalist, I might not have had access to those kind of books, depending on the policies Amazon chose to put into effect, is also deeply disturbing. Now, I do think it's worth parsing what exactly was this pressure here. Was it a kind of soft pressure, which is still important, mind you, where they feel as though they're getting emails from the administration and they should act on them, but aren't being dictated to do X, Y, and Z, which would obviously be worse? And what policies do they actually put into effect? Do they sort of shadow ban books by making them less likely to come up in a search? Did they do something else that would actually preclude the book from coming up at all? Did they choose not to back order the books so that people might place an order and they wouldn't actually have it in stock legitimately? I mean, these are all important questions to ask, but you have this fundamental tee-off between Amazon. This is how it happened at Twitter. They are, at the end of the day, businesses and capitalists who want to sell products and earn money. And there always does seem to be this pushback where the organization, the company, doesn't really want to do the thing that the government wants to do, not because it doesn't ideologically align or does ideologically align, but because they just want to make money. And so it will be really interesting to see some follow-up here to see what exactly did Amazon do, and are there going to be any limits placed on the government to preclude them from exercising this kind of soft pressure they have to influence businesses to adopt their kind of ideological line?
Yeah, so that issue is exactly what is at the heart of this court case that's coming before the Supreme Court. It's now called Murphy versus Missouri, I believe. They've changed the name of it a couple times. It is this lawsuit brought by accounts that were banned on social media for COVID-related speech. There was the New Civil Liberties Alliance obtained a lot of these CDC emails to Facebook, and there's a Twitter component as well. So this lawsuit has made its way to the Supreme Court, and hopefully we're going to get some clarity on to what extent federal officials can talk to social media companies. I think most people would agree that it shouldn't be totally impermissible for them to have conversations with social media companies. For instance, if they think, I don't know, a group on a terrorist watch list is active there, or child pornography,
sure,
sexual crimes, that is actually required under law for the social media companies to report that. I mean, that was the subject of that hearing the other week. So clearly there is some demand for social media companies to monitor those things and report them to the government. It's required under law, and they in fact do report those things. But we got such a far cry from that in terms of the Hunter Biden-related stuff, election stuff, COVID stuff. We're just being insufficiently committed to everybody needs to get vaccinated kind of agenda on social media was seen as a threat, and was something that Biden himself railed against when he said Facebook is killing people, literally killing people, when one of his top communications deputies said, if they don't do more, we're going to look at revoking Section 230.
These technologies keep getting caught in the crosshairs.
Yes.
It's not about the technology.
Yes.
Now, Republicans are saying TikTok is teaching people how to cross the border,
right,
as though no one knew how to do it. You can't do a Google search. Like, there's no other way to figure out instructions about how to best get amnesty in the United States of America. And now without Amazon, we wouldn't have, or without Twitter, we wouldn't have COVID skepticism. It's getting really outrageous. At the end of the day, people are trying to get shortcuts around persuasion. Can you make the case for why this vaccine is medically indicated? Can you make the case for why people should adopt mask usage? Can you implement policies that make it easier for people to take advantage of those kinds of resources that are out there? That's the role of government. And these kinds of moves do speak to a kind of a desperation and evidence of their failure to actually make the case for interventions, which I, in many cases, support and agree with. But this is an end run.
Yeah, it's them losing control, and it's very bipartisan. Nobody in government likes the amount of freedom of free speech there is on these platforms, the amount of dissident information you can encounter. It's very foreign to them. It makes them uncomfortable, and they want to do everything they can to throttle it, which would be a disaster. So I'm not surprised. I'm going to do some digging. I want to know more about exactly what steps Amazon took. But, this is, in some sense, this is book banning type things, I was told, is very bad. Democrats very upset about it. Understandably, I too think that. But here was a very senior Biden official person just willfully stumbling into this. Oh, this bookstore is offering a lot of books I don't like. Like that. I mean, it's virtual, it's different, but it is on some level just that.
The real censorship is when you try to read your copy of The Real Anthony Fauci by the pool in the summer of 2022, and your friends politely ask you to remove the book cover. So people stop glaring at you.
I see. Okay, more Rising right after this.